As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date. News Talk KVNU 102 FM 610 AM. Also on the new KVNU mobile app.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Whole Tree Care. Police have arrested a man they believe chased down a woman during the early morning hours of March 31st and assaulted her. Bradley Hobbs was taken into custody Thursday and later booked into the Cache County Jail after the Cache-Rich Drug Task Force raided his home. According to the arrest report, multiple witnesses called 911 on March 31st, reporting an older white male driving a white Chevrolet truck was seen chasing down a white blonde female near 350 North, 200 West in Logan. The truck continued following her, driving across lawn, sidewalks, and parking strips. The witnesses told officers the truck struck the woman, knocking her to the ground. The suspect was seen getting out of the vehicle, picking up the unconscious female, and placing her in the truck before driving away. Witnesses described the suspect as being tall and thin with shorter curly hair. He and the alleged victim could not be located when police arrived on scene, however, but officers were able to obtain video footage from a surveillance camera. They were later able to identify Hobbs as the possible suspect and questioned him several days later. He denied the incident took place. He told officers that someone else could have been driving his truck because his girlfriend has keys to it. On Tuesday, a patrol officer observed the same white Chevrolet truck driving slowly on 300 West and 200 North. The vehicle was near the shoulder of the road, following a woman who later got into the truck. On Wednesday, police questioned the woman, who acknowledged that Hobbs had allegedly chased her down on March 31st. She claimed he became upset after she had told him that she was leaving and walking home. The woman told police how Hobbs struck her with his truck and then took her back to his home. She allegedly suffered minor injuries to her thigh, neck, and legs from being run over, according to the report. On Thursday, police and drug task force agents raided Hobbs' residence. They found around 30 pills of counterfeit oxycodone laced with fentanyl, along with heroin and drug paraphernalia. Law enforcement also located 32 firearms, including rifles and handguns. Police again questioned Hobbs. He reportedly claimed he couldn't remember hitting the woman with his vehicle, but again stated that someone else may have been driving his truck. Prosecutors have filed 42 charges against Hobbs, including aggravated kidnapping, assault, failing to remain at the scene of an accident, drug possession with the intent to distribute, and possession of a firearm by a restricted person. He will be arraigned in First District Court Monday afternoon, could face up to life in prison if convicted. KVNU News Time is 5:08. KVNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy skies, becoming mostly cloudy later tonight, and the overnight low right around 40. Partly cloudy tomorrow, high temperature around 70. It's 61 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. They have the items you're looking for, the parts you need, use, and rely on every day, plus hard-to-find items you're looking for. In stock when you need it at your 5 locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts stores.
Men, sometimes women drop subtle hints like,
"Hey, honey, the weather sure is nice today."
"Yeah, I think I'll go golfing with the fellas."
Ugh, whatever.
Sometimes we just need more direct language like,
"Honey, call Whole Tree Care to trim and clean up all those gnarly shrubs and dead, twisted branches. I want to enjoy the yard this summer, not dread it."
You know, I was thinking the same thing. Call Whole Tree Care, 760-6587. Ask about their radio discount. They also do tree and stump removal. 760-6587.
KVNU News Time is 5:09. Utahns can expect their mail to be delivered as usual this Saturday, but with a catch. Your letter carrier will be asking for something in return, a bag of food. May 14th marks the 30th anniversary of the annual National Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive, a day when local letter carriers collect non-perishable groceries along their routes for the Utah Food Bank and its 216 affiliates across the state. Utah Food Bank President Jeanette Bott says the annual drive is one of the largest donation events of their year.
Here in Utah, we're fortunate to have the National Association of Letter Carriers. We have the National Rural Letter Carriers Association and the U.S. Postal Service. They all come together to have a one-day event that really is important to Utah and our fight against hunger.
Bott says the Letter Carriers Assistance helps food banks serve an estimated 410,000 Utahns who periodically face hunger. She adds that all of the food taken in during the drive will be distributed to food pantries in the community where the donation is made. Bott says thousands of postal workers in Utah and across the country will participate in the Stamp Out Hunger Drive. She says the letter carriers often have friends and family members follow them on their route to help handle the volume of donations.
The letter carriers take a postcard and put it in people's mailbox. They deliver a plastic bag, and people tend to go right to their pantry and take product they've purchased for their family. So the variety is awesome, going from one family to another based on what one family enjoys.
Letter carriers ask that families wishing to donate fill up the bag provided by their carrier this past week and set it near their mailbox by 9 a.m. tomorrow. For more information, go to utahfoodbank.org. KVNU News Time is 5:11. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Where news and talk comes first. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Over the last year, COVID-19 vaccines helped us get back to a life that feels almost normal. But the virus is still out there, and there's still something you can do to protect yourself and those you care about most. When it comes to your health and the well-being of your family and friends, don't let your guard down. Get vaccinated and boosted for COVID-19 to keep your protection going strong. Find a location at coronavirus.utah.gov.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. President Biden, already wrestling soaring inflation and a gridlocked Congress, has now seen his grade for the economy fall. Also, the IRS is still behind by millions of delayed returns, but in one scenario, that might actually benefit you. We'll explain how. And homebuyers are so stressed that some are seeking therapy for it. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news, weather, and sports.
Your landscape should be a place to relax, entertain, and spend family time. Canyon Landscaping designs and installs livable landscapes that define space in new or existing yards. Hardscapes with retaining walls, paver and stone patios and walkways. Each create privacy, interest, and purpose. Plus fire pits and sitting walls to add value to any yard. Go to canyonlandscaping.com for more details. Then call to schedule your free consultation. Call 752-3838 or go to canyonlandscaping.com. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
My name is Gloria Nadal, and I chose Roof Rescue. They exceeded my expectations because they were able to follow through with the insurance company, establish a rapport, and ultimately the insurance company took responsibility and paid for my roof to be replaced. The products that they used were top-notch. My roof is beautiful. I would recommend them over and over again. My name is Gloria Nadal, and I encourage you to choose Roof Rescue.
Welcome to to the For the People Movie Show. Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com joining us here in the studio. We'll be talking Doctor Strange 2. We didn't get a chance to talk about that last week. Andy hadn't had a chance to see it yet. He's seen it, and I'm not going to... I'll spoil it a little bit. I think we might be about to hear Andy say Marvel had its first flop. Maybe. I don't know. I might be reading too much into his text, but we'll find out in just a minute. Also, Firestarter. Stephen King's Firestarter, a classic 80s campy, unintentionally campy horror movie, and one of King's, I don't know, least popular books. It's good. It's not bad, but it's one of his that is least discussed, least memorable. It's getting a treatment, a reboot, if you will. It is in theaters here in Logan as of today. And before we get to Andy's take on all of this, here's just a bit from the trailer.
Everything okay, Charlie?
It happened again.
What happened?
The bad thing.
If you ever start to lose control, what do you do?
It didn't work.
She's not a robot, Annie. She's a little girl. With little girl emotions, which are wildly unpredictable.
Charlie?
She just has to shove it down and keep it hidden.
Our responsibility is getting her ready.
Our responsibility is to protect her.
Charlie?
If they catch her, they're going to put her in a cage.
Charlie?
They're going to run tests on her for the rest of her life. We'll never see her again.
If who catches me?
Firestarter in theaters here in Logan, rated R, and again based on. I saw a joke that was cracked on Twitter by a critic that said this is a movie that was based on the movie that was loosely based on the book.
This is one of the books that Stephen King wrote in the early '80s, where he doesn't remember writing it.
he said that, right?
It's up there with Cujo. Like he was so.
He had alcohol problems.
He had alcohol problems, drug problems.
Cocaine,
Yeah, he just was... He said, I wish I remembered writing Cujo.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, And this was the thing, too, because remember back then you had, The Shining. I mean, Hollywood does this, and I'll use Hollywood as just the general term, but you get The Shining that comes out and everyone goes, ooh, that's scary. And then they're like, well, what's next, Steven? And he's like, how about Carrie? And Brian De Palma's like, you bet. And everyone's like, man, that's good. That's good stuff. And then what happens?
Like, what's next?
Yeah, then they're like, how about Salem's Lot? And everyone goes, yee. No, they put it out because they're like, dude, everything this guy writes is like gold.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't.
And then the next year, so it's a haunted car.
Well, you have. Oh yeah.
Which actually, honestly,
Christine.
Christine, I think, is one of when you talk about classic '80s horror movies. Everyone always mentions, the Friday the 13th, Halloween, for Nightmare on Elm Street. Christine should be in that list. It's a classic. It's campy, but it's a classic.
What I like about King is he doesn't.
The book is actually excellent, by the way.
Yeah, he writes for himself. I mean, he obviously is writing to an audience, but he's said this on multiple occasions. If he thinks if he likes it, he's just going to write it. He doesn't really care, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like it, you don't like it. You're just not going to win them all. And I think what's great about it is. You do get these, there are some that are maybe less popular, but you get these ones that just pop up and you're like, where, for instance, like Pet Sematary, or you come up with something like, It.
Yeah.
But I will say that I have enjoyed, and this is going to sound morbid, so just bear with me for a minute, but I have enjoyed post-accident Stephen King more than I did pre-accident Stephen King.
Yeah.
He even says that, there's a couple books like in the early 90s, like Rose Madder and, Dolores Claiborne.
Rose Madder is the only Stephen King book I didn't finish.
Yeah, he said there's two.
And not because it was bad. I just didn't care. I got halfway through and thought,
No, that one
care.
and Insomnia, he said,
Insomnia
I was
bad.
trying so hard. And what he was trying to do was do something that is not really... Because here's the thing. Stephen King is a great writer, and he's great because he knows... the language just kind of comes out, and he knows how people talk. he's just got a he's got a flair to his prose. It's not literature.
He has themes that come up again and again, but he's able to keep them, because if you think about it, Firestarter, The Stand, I can't remember others, but he has several books that are based on government experiments gone awry, and that's Firestarter. That's The Flu from The Stand, and then these themes of childhood and adolescence and the struggles of teens and children as they grow, and those pop up again and again in his books. And,
you know what's funny is about that,
and he makes it work.
What he said. Have you read his book On Writing?
Yeah,
he does this confession later. He says he doesn't sit down and map anything out.
No,
it's organic for him. So he sits down, he starts a story, and whatever the story ends at is where it ends. And he says, as he's writing it, he's not like, what I should do here is I should center the theme around, man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, he said that if there are themes in his novels, it's because it's something he thinks about.
Well, he said later on...
And he had a traumatic adolescence.
He did.
His best friend was run over by a train right in front of him. His mom died very young. And I would guess that's why you see these themes of... children grappling with adult things that they shouldn't have to deal with in his books often.
I think that's something that is important to him.
It's timeless, though, because I was thinking about this. You mentioned, we were talking about Christine. One of the book, the movie's just a good campy horror movie, but the book is actually one of my favorites of his. But it deals with these same themes that are timeless. And right now, for 8 days in a row, the top viewed new thing on Netflix is this Heartstopper series, which is a teen comedy, drama, romance kind of thing. But those themes never get old.
Yeah.
You can always make a movie, write a book about what teens are grappling with, and people will buy it and read it. And Firestarter, though,
I'm not sure what they tried to do here.
It didn't work.
No. So let me give you folks a free tip here. So you don't waste your money at the theater, because you should not go see this in the theater. I'm sorry.
It's rare that you say don't go see it.
It's just terrible. There's literally nothing redeeming about it at all.
Really?
Not even if you have Zac Efron posters on your wall. Also, how old are we that Zac Efron plays a dad in a movie now?
Yeah.
That was another
that
thing.
Is kinda,
I was like,
kind of punch in the gut for our generation. Huh?
It really was. Wasn't this guy just dancing? And anyway.
High School Musical.
Yeah, right.
401k.
That's right. That's right. It's coming next. But what I thought was really interesting about Zach, this is they're taking, again, your point. That's a great quip. Is it's a remake of a movie in the 80s that was loosely based off a Stephen King novel. Here's the thing, though.
It's
80s
the movie
version,
that got, I forget her name now.
Drew Barrymore.
It got Drew Barrymore the role in E.T.
Well, this actually came after E.T.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
I thought it was the opposite.
This is what I guarantee.
Oh,
this
sad.
This is what happened.
Sorry, Drew.
There was E.T., and then some guy was home and he was reading a Stephen King novel, and he was like, I got it. And the next morning he ran into the boardroom, and they were like, Bill, what's going on? And he says, Drew Barrymore, hot ticket in town. Everybody likes a crying child. Stephen King novel, Firestarter. Let's put them together. And they were like, you, sir, are going places.
Yeah.
And then he didn't.
Wasn't Brian Dennehy in that, too?
No, so you've got... No, so...
The guy that looks a lot like him.
It's funny you say that, because Keith David, or not, it's not even, it's David Keith. Keith David is a different person. That's actually a black man.
Yeah. I'd know if it was, I wouldn't confuse him with Brian Dennehy at all.
I got some mistakes here. I'm sorry, audience. I've been handed some bad information here. Anyway, but no, let me read this cast, okay? This is like a who's who of 80s actors.
From the original?
Yeah.
This was 1983?
1984.
84, okay.
E.T. was 81, I think.
Okay.
So you got David Keith, not Keith David, as we've heretofore already named. Now, David Keith, people might be like, well, I don't know who that is, Andy. If you saw An Officer and a Gentleman, he was the Richard Gere's buddy, the guy that ends up hanging himself in the bathroom.
Spoiler alert.
Aw, sorry guys. Too bad.
It's 45 years old if you haven't seen it.
Tough beans. Drew Barrymore, obviously we know her from E.T. And then it had Heather Locklear as she played the mom. And then
I don't remember that.
Listen to these three names. These are going to make you go, well, this is like a who's who.
None of these names are Brian
Martin
Dennehy.
Sheen.
Really?
Martin Sheen.
I don't remember that.
George C. Scott played the assassin.
I do
C.
remember
Scott,
that.
of all people. And then Art Carney was the kind old farm owner, right? And if everybody knows, the plot here really is that, so in this version, the only two names that you're going to know or recognize, there's maybe three people if you got a keen eye. The two, obviously, well, let me scroll that back. There's one person you'll recognize. There's maybe one you'll go, did she used to be on ER?
Looks familiar.
And then that's it. But it's Zac Efron. So what they've done here is, the plot is you've got these husband and wife that they were in college. And this is the movie plot, by the way. They signed up for some FDA trials, and it ended up being, that sneaky government was like, hey, we're going to put some 5G antennas in your brain. Anyway, what ended up happening is they started getting some psychic gifts. So, like, the mom can kind of read thoughts, and saying how to see the future, and the dad can actually influence people to do things, right?
And that's true to the book and the original movie, right? Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny. They call it he calls it the push in the movie, and there was actually a movie earlier in the 2000s with Chris Evans called Push. Anyhow, in the 80s version, same as in this version, except the 80s has better actors. So if you want to watch Firestarter, if you have Peacock, you can see it on Peacock. It's playing, or go and watch the 84 version. Do not go to the theater. Do not pay for this. You will regret every minute.
I would also suggest the 84 just for the special effects are hilarious.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be frightening, but
no, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, they have this kid, and as things would happen when you're two psychic folks meet together and have a baby, the baby is like, hey, I got some skills too, and what I can do is light things on fire and do the things that you do.
It's like The Incredibles.
But
really, not Pixar.
No. And here's when I knew the movie went off the rails.
Was it Michael Grey Eyes? Is that when you knew?
No.
Horrible actor.
No. What happens is there's a scene. First off, and you know what? I don't even care, right? Because if you go see this, you deserve to be. You have everything ruined for you.
Don't blame me. I warned you.
The spoiler alert, if you really care, which I hope you don't. The mom dies like the first, 25% of the movie. She dies like in the first 20 minutes. Anyhow,
also true to the book.
Yeah, and these guys, it's just like they're like, it's okay. Like they're kind of sad when they're pulling out, and then they're like, let's get some ice cream.
Really?
And I was like, wait, what's going on here? And then the daughter, she's in this alley, and I feel like there should be trauma warnings for stuff like this. But the daughter's in the alley, the girl that has the Firestarter powers, and she sees this cat. And she's like, oh, hey, kitty. And the cat scratches her. And then she's like, rah! And shoots out fire and just like nukes the cat, right? And then the cat's just laying there, like burning fur, going, basically like that. And the dad's like, well, now you've got Zac Efron's like, well, I would sing a High School Musical song here, but I think you need to put the cat out of its misery. And that's essentially. And
he makes her finish it?
Yes.
Wow.
And this is like a 3 or 4 minute scene, and I'm sitting there going, this is an hour and 34 minute movie, and we spent 4 minutes killing a cat? Like, okay. It's so ridiculous. It's an hour and 30 minutes. I don't know what they were thinking about doing. I read not James Cameron. John Carpenter did the score for this because
that's the only redeeming thing I've heard so far,
and it's not even that redeeming. And
Blumhouse
is it's just he's doing his 2-note. He's like, hey guys, Halloween is this. Do 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 do. He's like, what if I go over here 2 keys down and go ba 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 ba? It just. He's
Same
like,
thing.
Yeah, they're like, James, that sounds a lot like Halloween. He's like, nah, I think you're wrong.
It's not.
Do you know any chords? Nope, I don't. Look, you like it or not, okay? Take my contract or not. Anyway, it's a terrible movie. You should not go see it.
Stephen King didn't like it.
He shouldn't like it.
He rarely says much about movies that are made off his books, other than unless he has something to do with them. Like he remains defiantly proud of Maximum Overdrive.
He
wrote it and directed it, and it's actually another good classic horror movie.
Anytime a vending machine shoots a can out at somebody and kills him,
and the lawnmower, the lawnmower chasing but he usually distances himself from the movies and says, I had nothing to do with this. But he will say openly whether he liked him or hated him, and he was not a fan of this one or the original. He said on Twitter last week, he said, I really wish someone would make this into a good movie because it was a book that always should have been a movie.
What I would, if you're a Stephen King fan, instead of going to see Firestarter or even wasting your time watching it on Peacock, what I would do, if you're not down to watch the 84 version just for the legit campiness, and then it has a stellar cast, I think, in my opinion.
An angry Drew Barrymore.
Crying quite often.
Yeah, she cries a lot.
There's a conversation, I think it's 2019, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube somewhere, and it's Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son, and Stephen King, and I want to say it's a local auditorium or a local bookstore in Maine where they both live. I'm not sure if Joe Hill lives there, but where Stephen King lives,
I think so.
And they're both kind of advertising their books that are coming out, which at the time for Stephen King it was The Institute,
which is one of his best.
Yeah, and then for Joe Hill, I think it was I don't think it was a collection of short stories. I think it might have been Heart-Shaped Box, but I'm not. No, I don't think it was that. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is this father and son are sitting there and they're answering questions from the audience and they're talking about their process, and it is so funny, so funny. I would spend your time watching or listening to that if you're a Stephen King fan versus going to see Firestarter.
Yeah,
it just is not. I gave one other F this year.
I don't remember.
It was the Ben Affleck Ana de Armas.
Oh yeah,
erotic thriller.
That was
also on Hulu.
Another one of those that you have to step back and think. Entire committees of people, were involved, greenlit this, and no one ever spoke up.
No,
and said, "This is."
It was one of the I'll be honest with you. Like I don't put Ben Affleck's career choices in the upper echelon of good decision making, right? But this was even bizarre for him, just with how he had this run in the mid 2000s from Gone Baby Gone to The Town to Argo, where you're like, man, you for a corny guy that played the weird dude in Armageddon, you've really come a long way, and then it's almost like he's descended back, and I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, that was Argo was the time when I feel like, because for a while there he was doing the Kevin Smith. What was that movie he was in?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Jersey Girl.
Yeah, he was in Jersey, and I thought, well, it was Goodwill Hunting on down for him. And then Argo comes out a few years later, and you think, oh, yeah, this guy could win an Oscar. And then it's like he just gave up.
And he wasn't, he directed and wrote the screenplay for Gone Baby Gone, which is great. He cast his brother Casey Affleck, who was great in the movie.
Yeah.
And I thought
apparently a horrible human being.
Yeah, apparently. I think there's some things that could be said about his brother Ben as well. But the last movie I saw with Ben Affleck was actually The Tender Bar, which was not.
I didn't like that either.
It was a little slow.
You mentioned things. I forgot about this before we go to the news. You mentioned things from Stephen King. If you're looking for something like that, other than Firestarter, did you see the Outsider series on HBO?
Yeah.
That was actually very different than the book, which I liked, but that was pretty well done.
They changed it up a little bit,
but it was good.
What I like, Stephen King also talks about this. He doesn't try to combine, or he's not. People are like, well, he featured this, and everything's connected, and he's like, yeah, there's some loose connections. He does that on purpose, but
yeah.
The reason I was bringing up the Joe Hill thing is somebody asked Joe Hill, "What's your favorite horror movie?" And he said, "I know this is going to sound corny and trite, but truthfully, it's It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and that's what I'd recommend.
Yeah.
If you have some time to Kill and you were going to go see Firestarter, which I'm going to bet 99.6% of you were not.
Yeah.
Go home and watch it.
I would agree with that. I think it was, you always hear this phrase whenever there's a genre novel that's, like a crime book or a romance or a horror novel or a fantasy novel, but it becomes a literary phenomenon because it's that well done. It crosses over into mainstream as opposed to that niche. It was that Stephen King's It, the book, and the 2-chapter late horror movie released recently. Don't go. Well, I mean, go see the Tim Curry one from the '90s because it's kind of funny, and Jack Ritter. But those two movies, I think, are the movie version of that. You hear that literary horror.
You just combine those names.
Jack Ritter.
It's John Ritter, but his name on the Three's Company was Jack Tripper.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Jack Tripper. My brain knew both of them were right in a way.
It's okay. It's okay. I think that is hilarious.
With that, let's go to the news, and people will forget my mistake on the other side.
You know what we just tease them really quick. I'm also.
I can't wait to hear this.
I'm also going to I'm going to obliterate another movie on the other side. One that everyone is going to be really surprised about.
I will. I don't want to spoil it, but Doctor Strange 2 is in theaters here in Logan. We'll be back with more of For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News brought to you by the Duck Hunter. A 29-year-old Logan man already in jail for reportedly obstructing justice and theft is facing more charges of allegedly sexually abusing an 11-year-old girl, according to police. Victor Chavez Flores has been in the Cache County Jail since being arrested March 23rd. Chavez Flores was arraigned on the new crimes during a virtual hearing this morning in First District Court. He was charged with 3 counts of aggravated sexual abuse of a child, a first-degree felony, dealing in materials harmful to a minor, a third-degree felony, and lewdness involving a child, a Class A misdemeanor. Cache County Deputy Attorney Griffin Hazard explained how Chavez Flores reportedly molested the alleged victim multiple times. He would also show her pornography while exposing himself to her. Chavez Flores spoke through an interpreter asking the court for a public defender. Hazard also asked the court to hold Chavez Flores without bail. He claimed the suspect did not have a permanent residence and could flee the area. He also said he posed a risk to the community and the alleged victim if released from jail. Judge Spencer Walsh agreed with Hazard and ordered Chavez Flores to remain in jail and appear again in courts Monday afternoon. Idaho officials have announced a $119 million settlement with drug maker Johnson & Johnson and 3 major distributors over their role in the opioid addiction crisis. Governor Brad Little and Republican Attorney General Lawrence Wasden on Friday said it's the second largest consumer settlement in state history, trailing only the 1998 National Tobacco Settlement. All 44 Idaho counties have agreed to the settlement, as have 24 cities and the state's 7 health districts. The money will address damage wrought by opioids, which the federal government declared a public health emergency in 2017. Johnson & Johnson and the 3 distributors agreed to a national $26 billion settlement in February. KVNU weather is brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Don't pay for the expense of dry cleaning when you can clean your items at Mount Logan Laundry for much less. Located at 500 East, 900 North in Logan, Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi. Also at First East and 7th South in Brigham City. Becoming mostly cloudy tonight and overnight, low around 40, and then partly cloudy tomorrow, high around 70. Southwest winds 10 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. Mostly sunny, upper 70s on Sunday and around 80 degrees on Monday. Right now it's 61. For the latest news, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duct Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your ductwork. Your furnace filter's probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duct Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter. News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
My name is Dr. Brandon Prevey, and I love being a dentist. I work with Drs. Curtis Taylor, Anthony Larson, and Paul Harris. When people ask where our office is, I actually have two answers. First, I spend part of the week at Logan Dental Associates, and then second, I spend the other part at Cherry Creek Dental in Richmond. Both locations are a full-service dental office and can take care of everyone in the family. Call or go online and make your appointment with the office that's most convenient for you. Logan Dental Associates in Logan or Cherry Creek Dental in Richmond.
Nothing better than a good night's sleep and a comfy chair to sit in. And they can help with both those things at UNI Furniture. A therapeutic mattress or something from UNI's full lineup of Maloof will increase your chances of a good night's sleep. And for the comfy chair to sit in, you need to visit UNI's Chair Heaven. So many chairs at UNI because they carry so many styles and kinds of chairs. And shoppers are always happy when they see the prices at UNI. For a good night's sleep or a comfy chair to sit in, visit the place where there's always a better buy, UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. A special little treat for everyone there.
For last week. May the 4th be with you.
That was, it's a week late, but a little Star Wars parody there. Similar to, I don't know who did this one, actually. It was on TikTok.
It was bad lip reading.
Is that from bad lip reading? Okay. I assume so, but it was bad lip reading. They take famous scenes from movies and then trying to match the movement of the lips to certain words, and they did the whole scene with Yoda and Luke in The Empire Strikes Back, the training scenes.
There's so many funny Star Wars things.
And the things they put in that match the movements of the puppet and Luke, and it's just...
That is hilarious.
I've linked to it on our Facebook page if you want to see the actual video that went with that song. But
I actually really enjoy, and this shows how juvenile I am, but I really enjoy the robot chicken Star Wars stuff.
Those are funny.
It's so funny.
The Family Guy trilogy was pretty decent too.
Was pretty funny.
The couch moving scene coming out of the garbage compactor. This is a nice sofa.
No. All right,
I'm taking this with me.
Just move it here. Okay. You know what? All right. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Hilarious.
It was like I was like, did they listen to my parents move furniture? Is that how they got this dialogue?
That's what.
Okay, just put it down. Just put it down. Just put it down. You're breaking my back here. Okay, wait. Okay. I said, wait. You're gonna crush my hand. You're gonna crush my hand.
I think my favorite part about the Family Guy, as a Robot Chicken, maybe does a better job of this. Really, I guess, but they actually sort of poke fun at some of the. I mean, let's be honest. There are some plot holes in the Star Wars movies. There's some things that if you ask too many questions, you might get frustrated. And I'm not talking about the prequels either. There's plenty in the prequels. Like, why didn't he use the leg rockets before?
There's a line.
There's several scenarios in the original movie where those leg rockets would have helped R2 out.
This should be a drop, too.
You forget about them?
There's a part in the Family Guy where they do Return of the Jedi, and they get caught in that net. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
They're caught in the net, and the guy that's doing the voice of R2 goes, "Hey, guys, you remember that laser I used to free us from Jabba's palace?" And he's like, "Well, here comes a tiny saw."
Whee!
Yeah, that's too good.
It was honestly...
Yeah, to your point.
I shouldn't have talked to jokes about the leg rockets because I get flared up and angry every time.
You know, I saw the most uncomfortable, cringy thing.
Maybe they were taken off or something.
Someone else will probably like this and be like, "Oh, I think that's so sentimental," and it was just so cringy to me. is there was some journalist. I don't know if it was a journalist or a fan. I hope it was a fan. I've got to go back and rewatch it. But it was at the premiere of the Obi-Wan series in London, I believe it was, and it was Hayden Christensen, and
that's next week for all of us, right?
Yeah, or the week after. I think.
Okay, 2
maybe
weeks.
not. We'll double check. We'll clarify. It's either the 24th or the 27th.
Oh yeah, so either way that would be.
I think it's the 27th. Anyhow, they were talking about. I don't know if they were taking questions or what, but somebody basically said we like the prequels, which was probably like a journalist that was like 19.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people in their 20s that do.
Yeah, and I almost called him Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor says, that's really great to know because like when we were making these, everyone hated him, and it kind of affected us. Like we were like he was like I didn't want to have anything to do with Star Wars after because I was like no way, man, like you're not putting me in that again. And Hayden Christensen's like I never acted again.
Yeah, I mean he literally he was in that.
He's in a couple movies
after. That weird thriller
with his
hands. Where he's paralyzed or whatever.
Yeah, with Jessica Alba.
And a couple other things, but yeah.
The best Hayden Christensen movie out there on
the
market.
Because he's actually not the worst part of...
No, he's not.
In fact, to be honest with you, I think some of the worst parts of the prequels, acting-wise, I mean, there are a lot of problems, but some of the worst parts are the stars that actually went on.
Well,
I mean, I think...
I don't think it's any...
How do you make Padme irritating?
We were,
she did that. She made her irritating.
We were talking about this the other day.
And her career flourished.
It's very rare. I believe what Roger Ebert said is that he doesn't really ever place the blame on the actors.
Yeah.
It's the writers and directing.
No, it was the writing, definitely. Because the directing's actually fine.
Well, go watch Shattered Glass with Hayden Christensen. Great movie.
Is that the one where he's a teen, troubled teen?
No, that's Life is a House.
Oh, okay. That's
a great one.
That was a good movie.
But no, Shattered Glass, he plays. It's a true story of a journalist that had made up all his.
Oh yeah,
it's a good one.
That was good.
And then you again look at Ewan McGregor and all the movies that he's been in, aside from the prequels.
Yeah,
it's the dialogue.
Ewan McGregor, though, I don't think you can blame it all on Star Wars because Ewan McGregor is one of those actors that. No matter what he does, he's always Ewan McGregor.
He is. He's British Matt Damon.
Yeah, and that I think holds certain people back.
I will always say that.
Yeah, British Matt Damon.
British Matt Damon.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Matt Damon is only going to get Matt Damon roles. Tom Cruise.
I'm so irritated with Matt Damon. I've been Matt Damoned. Like I've had my fill of Matt Damon over the years, these last 45 years.
Did you ever see the movie where he's the soft-spoken, mousy guy at a corporation, becomes a whistleblower?
Yeah.
That one was one where he dabbled in acting.
He's got his...
for a bit.
He's got moments.
Yeah.
My issue is, I liked him in The Martian, but... Whenever I want to kind of satisfy my Matt Damon hatred, I just go watch Interstellar when he's that jerk astronaut later in the end, and I fast forward to the time he blows himself out into space, then I'm like, yes. Someone out there's like, that's horrible, Andy. That is horrible. Why would you do that?
Everyone I know thinks I'm being too harsh when I say this, but same for McConaughey. Honestly, it's reached a point where I actually
Jason.
can't stand him. I will never own a Lincoln.
You know what, Jason? I don't.
in protest.
I don't need your approval.
I will never own. Okay. I wish him all the success. He's in great movies, but I tried to watch Lincoln Lawyer because there's a series coming.
Yeah.
So I rewatched the movie just for fun, and I was a fan. I love Michael Connelly. He's the Stephen King of crime. If you want an author that writes like Stephen King with the memorable characters, great plots, Michael Connelly, and so I love those books, and I went and rewatched the movie, and I loved the movie when I saw it in theaters. I think I saw it with my mom that long ago, and I rewatched it, and I've just soured on McConaughey.
Well, you know what's going to come next, right? I thought Matthew McConaughey...
He's going to run for governor of Texas
probably,
there for a while. I was a little worried. Can we not with the celebrities in public office?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Elon Musk to run for president. That's the next one.
You know it's coming.
I call him Tech Trump because he has the kind of the same personality. He's very outspoken.
Is he really tech though? I mean, Elon Musk was just in the right place.
Dude, he made electric cars,
time
bro.
And a tunnel. He invented a slower subway.
He made the first spaceship. I don't know if you know
He
this.
invented a subway that moves fewer people over a longer period of time in Las Vegas. Brilliant.
Way to go, guys.
And how long do you think those car elevators are really going to last?
It's true.
Like, that's your point of... Anyway. No,
you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Doctor Strange.
That was a nice segue.
No, I'm being serious.
Can I preface your Doctor Strange review with something?
And I wasn't trying to cut you off, by the way.
I'm glad you did, because
Strange.
we were wandering, but it's Friday. It makes it tough not to wander.
It's the Wander Show.
Before you get to Doctor Strange, this is my least favorite
Marvel character,
Marvel Universe
same
character, and this stems back to, I actually really liked the first movie, but I thought about this, knowing you were going to be talking about it today. I thought a little bit about it, and it's I liked all the other people in Doctor Strange. You know, I can't remember her name, bald lady. Funny sidekick guy.
Tilda Swinton?
Yeah. Funny sidekick guy.
And then you
hilarious.
also liked Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah.
And what is...
And normally I like Cumberdink or whatever. Humperdinck. Cumberbatch.
Prince Humperdinck.
Yeah.
Prince Cumberbatch.
We should do a Princess Bride show.
I'm gonna tell you right now. So when I saw the first Doctor Strange, I saw on election night, 2016.
Is that when that came out?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it had been that long.
I went into the movie and I was like, hey, it's Marvel. Everyone loves Marvel.
Yeah.
Right? And it's Scott Derrickson, who's he directs horror movies. I thought this is going to be great. And I know a lot of people love it. I mean, it's got a 90% Rotten Tomatoes score, so come on.
Yeah.
But I left and I had
and I don't think it's a bad movie. I didn't care for the character. He's unlikable.
It's
through most of the movie.
I just don't. And so there's so much to unpack here. So I'm going to preface this by saying I didn't love Doctor Strange. I know that critically people loved it. 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, if that's what you want to quantify as people loving something. I would say the box office would say a different story.
Yeah,
but at that point in the Marvel universe in 2016, we knew where we were going, right? We knew who the villain was. Like, we knew we were leading up to this confrontation with Thanos.
Yeah.
Right? There'd been enough.
That's how I saw Doctor Strange.
We're 8 years deep into this at that
I saw
point.
Doctor Strange as a necessary movie.
Yes.
A movie that had to happen because
exactly.
you had to bridge a gap before you resolve the Avengers trilogy.
So I will say two things. My three issues with Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. And then I'll say one
the title doesn't help.
And I'll say one positive. First off, this movie was off to a bad start to begin with. They had brought back Scott Derrickson. They did not like the script. They did not like the direction he wanted to take. So that was canned. They brought in a new writer who then they were basically said, you got to rework what was already done. Just rework it. And they brought in Sam Raimi, who, if you're not a cinephile, that name might not ring a bell, but he did the original Spider-Man. The original Spider-Mans, the 2002, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. He also did, Evil Dead. Anyway, what I don't like
From Hell with Johnny Depp.
Yep. What I don't like is that's the one positive. Let me back up. That's the one positive. Sam Raimi, I do think is a brilliant filmmaker, even when he doesn't hit all the notes. His angles, his audacity, I like. There's one other thing I like in this show, and I'll say this, is there's a part in the middle, and this is a little bit of a spoiler alert, so plug your ears if you don't want to hear this, but there's a part in the middle where Doctor Strange is in one of this other universes, and it's another Earth, and he goes before what's called the Illuminati, and this is like, basically the board of directors of cool superheroes on this other world. And it's if you've watched What If on Disney Plus, it's a lot of stuff like that. So, for instance, there's a Captain America type figure, but it's played by his girlfriend. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Agent Carter. So it's,
yeah.
she's there, but she's dressed up as Captain America. There's another superhero that has like sound waves that I don't know who he is. Again, this is a little bit of a spoiler alert. Patrick Stewart shows up. That's a hint to the thing in his tiny little X-Man go-kart. And it's funny, the screening I was at, they'd had subtitles on for someone in the theater.
That's how they decided to do the crossover?
That needed to hear. No, it's not a crossover. That's what's funny.
He just shows up.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil this. Have you seen it yet?
No,
you haven't.
But what
so
you're describing feels so awkward.
Well, but here's the thing: it's there. If you hate fan service, there is such a huge payoff there. And I won't tell you the other character that comes, because there's another big name character that shows up that had all this fan speculation where fans were like, yes! And like there was audible whoops in the audience, and then like 5 minutes later there was audible moans and cries, and I was like, yes, I love it.
Because the character does show up or doesn't?
The character does show up, but I would say if anyone's hoping for a crossover, that's not going to happen. I read an interview with the screenwriter, and he basically just said they wanted to find every stupid fan theory on the internet and plug it in. The one they weren't able to do was they wanted Tom Cruise to show up as Iron Man. But they just didn't have the chance to get it all squared away with COVID. But it's
weird.
It sounds weird.
Is it Deadpool?
No.
Okay, because that's another rumor that Deadpool's going to
none of these
enter the Marvel
all these
universe.
characters are things that people were. Let me tell you what. If you're a huge like cosplayer, like read all the comics kind of guy, when you sat down,
if you're a nerd,
if you're a nerd, when you watch this, I guarantee that this is the reaction. That person was probably like, yes, oh yes, we're gonna get to X-Men in the Marvel universe, which we may, right? But what happens next? You go, oh, but not now.
No, it's never.
I'm probably giving away too much, but it just to me it felt like, and I don't know if this is appropriate for the radio, but it just felt like them basically thumbing their nose
at everybody,
at fans. Like,
that's what it sounds
here's
like.
What we think of your fan theories.
That is
right down the garbage disposal.
Can I ask? Actually, let's go to the break and I'll ask the question so you have a longer period of time to answer it. I have a question about this as it pertains to
it's
the future of Marvel.
Was it that? No, and that's I want to talk about that because that was one of my points. Is I was like,
okay,
guys, where are we going here?
Because where
are we going? What are we doing?
Ooh, I'm scared now for the future.
You should be.
We'll be back. We'll be back with more of Andy Morgan in the For the People movie show right after this.
The Lawn Doctor with a tip for your lawn.
Summer temps are here, the grass is seeding out, and the lawns have gotten stressed. With that being said, we'd like to introduce our new 2-service soil enrichment program to help increase the size and number of roots in your grass, which allows the plant to better use both the water and nutrients that are there, improving the health of the plant and helping the stress of this time of year.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call the Lawn Doctor at 753-LAWN or go to LawnDoctorCashValley.com.
Summer is just around the corner. Don't crank up your AC unit before getting it serviced. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning is the team you should call for quality on-time service. If your system needs replaced, think York. York has the best warranties in the business with affordable financing options. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning at 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com talking Doctor Strange 2. Andy, so you're saying skip Firestarter. Are you saying actually skip Doctor Strange 2? Or if you're a Marvel fan, do you need to see this one just to stay into the story?
They have gone
Thor 4?
Probably.
Okay.
They have gone all in on...
That's next, right?
Yeah, that's in July. They've gone all in on the Disney Plus too. So I'm going to give you a word of caution. If you have not seen WandaVision, highly recommend you see WandaVision before
I didn't even think about
you
that.
go into this. And those are really quick episodes. They're not super long. They're like 30 minutes. So it wouldn't take a ton of time. But I'll be honest, my biggest concern of this, being just an overly dull movie, in my opinion, it was really just, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing, guys? Because I don't.
That's concerning.
And it was funny because
because that's the one thing that they've not had a problem with.
Well, and somebody said to me, it took them 20 some odd movies to get to where they needed to go, but we had a path, and I don't see that path here. And I'll be honest, it's clunky. It's a clunky start out of the gate to Phase 4, in my opinion.
Man, so they kind of have to knock it out of the park with Thor 4.
I'm saying that if they don't have something specific to talk about, coming out in like those Easter eggs or whatever, I just don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
That's weird.
I really don't.
That's new for Marvel too. A flop.
Yeah.
Oh well,
it is.
All right, next week.
Next week we are going to talk about Top Gun, revisiting Top Gun.
Ooh.
Because we're not going to talk about Downton Abbey.
No, who would?
Although I hear that universe is gaining some Marvel traction. Stay for the after credits.
Dave Ramsey.